you're human, of 3.5 people. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is William Partridge, and I'm going to be giving you an informative presentation on the history and origins, as well as the positions and basic rules of rugby. I grew up and I was born here in the United States, and so I didn't really get a chance to play rugby as a kid, but I was able to play as an adult during my military service, as well as my father and his entire side of the family being from Southern Africa. So I grew up with the game, I grew up watching the game, I grew up hearing about it, but I wasn't able to play except for a few years as an adult. But my love for the game still remains the same. So, soccer is a gentleman's game played by hooligans, but rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen. This is a very common kind of debate, mostly in pubs and bars amongst fans who were just drinking and arguing and having a good time. But that plays off of the stereotype that rugby fans and rugby players in general tend to be more polite, I guess you could say, versus those of soccer, even though the rules of rugby are much more harsh than those of soccer, or as they say all over the world, football. So a brief history of rugby. It was founded in 1823 at the school in Rugby, England. It's Rugby in the county of Warwickshire, England. It was founded by William Webb Ellis as he was playing soccer with his classmates. He was frustrated with whatever was happening in the game, but he decided to pick up the ball, run with it, and just tackle people that were in his way. Now, of course, I'm sure his classmates were very frustrated with him. He wasn't following the rules of soccer, but long story short, it led to an incredibly and extremely popular sport that's known all over the world. In fact, the fact that it's not that popular here in the United States, in a sense, makes us the weird ones. But its popularity globally does rival that of soccer. Another thing is there's a Rugby World Cup every 4 years, and 2023 is actually a World Cup year. It's being held in France. And the trophy for the Rugby World Cup is actually called the Webb Ellis Cup in honor of the sport's founder, William Webb Ellis. So we're going to be going over rugby unions, the 15s rules. There are rugby 7s, there's rugby 10s, there's rugby union like here, and also rugby league. But the most common is rugby union 15s, and that's what I'll be going over since that's the most widely known and widely used format. So in rugby union, the 15s, there are a total of 15 players. There are 8 forwards and 9 backs. All of the numbers are universal across teams. So the loose head prop, that is number 1 on one team, is the same as number 1, which is a loose head prop on the other team. Same thing with all the way through 1 through 15. So your fullback is number 15 on team A as well as on team B. Those numbers never change. So some basic rules for rugby. First and foremost, a lot of Americans compare it to American football, saying it's the same just without pads. There are actually a lot of differences. The rules are very different, but I would say they're less technical. American football has a lot of gray area as far as interpretation and situational dictation and what rules apply in which situations. Rugby, for the most part, is very black and white. It's very straightforward. Whatever a given situation is, there is usually a very specific rule that is already given with minimal interpretation. Another thing is in rugby, you can pass the ball with your hands, but you can only pass it laterally, so sideways or backwards. You can kick it forward, but there is no forward passing of the ball with your hands. Also, another point is scoring in rugby is called a try. So like in American football, when you run into the end zone, you score. In rugby, you still have to run into what's called the try zone, which is their version of the end zone, but you have to physically touch the ball down to the ground. And that is actually where American football gets the term touchdown from, because in rugby, the sport in which American football is derived from, you have to physically touch the ball down. So, in conclusion, I hope you've learned a little bit about rugby, and I hope you've learned the differences in American football versus rugby, as well as I thank you for being here. Thank you. Have a good day.